Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton, and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, this show is all about human trafficking, sextortion, social media exploitation, child pornography, combating some of the craziest and most evil stuff out there. And we've been doing this 13 years, 10 years right here in Riverside, California, and throughout the Riverside County. And I actually, in my case, travel across the United States training law enforcement and code enforcement, can't even say it. Anyway, fire departments and social media and social services organizations all throughout the nation. But a lot of it is right here in Riverside County. We serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. So what does that mean? That means that I deal with the real deal. There is a lot of misinformation out there about human trafficking these days. And I'm not sure why that is. People, write to me and they talk about, kids in tunnels and, satanic worship and all of that. And that may be going on. I don't know. But what I see in the business that I do, in the cases that we handle, is that much of it is local and much of it is our teenagers who go online, they go on Tinder or Meet Me, and all of those sites. They get a fantasy relationship. They fall in love with someone they've never met. Oftentimes the girl pursues the guy and they have no idea what they're getting into. And at that point in that fantasy relationship, somewhere along the line, they meet up with them. It may come off like an older boyfriend. And the next thing you know, their lives are changed. And mom and dad are over here watching this going, ooh, I don't like that guy. He's not right for you. He's too old. I don't like the way he talks to you. And mom and dad are saying, you're grounded, clean up your room. And he's saying, hey, baby, you're hot. And this girl begins to take chances and goes out. And the next thing you know, this guy is getting her to do things that never in her wildest dreams would she have thought in the beginning that she would do. It becomes like a slippery slope as she's kind of desperately trying to hang on to this guy and please him. And he knows exactly what he's doing. And that is exactly called the grooming process. If you want to learn more about that, I've written a book about it called Seduce: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. Very seldom do they kidnap you. They will come along and seduce you, maybe in a video game, maybe on TikTok, maybe on Kick, maybe on Instagram, maybe on Facebook Messenger. And you start to think this person really cares about you, and off it goes. And that is how it's going. Well, that's the business that I'm in. And I've been in this business now 10 years. So I'm probably a little crusty by now because I've seen it all. We don't have to make up big numbers. I've sat with parents whose hearts are just bleeding that their child made such poor decisions and you can't bring them back, can't get them to listen. They run away, they disappear, and you know the path they're going down. Or maybe it's a son who's playing on a video game and they're passing pornography back and forth and talking smack, and pretty soon he sends off a photo to brag, and then they find out it really isn't who they thought it was, and the blackmail begins. One photo online, in one illicit photo online that ends up on one of these child pornography sites can go to 1 million child pornographers in less than 30 seconds around the world, and you'll never be able to get it back. The numbers kind of indicate that about 18,000 kids a day across the United States are sending a naked photo. Now, that is an old number prior to COVID. I haven't seen a number after COVID. That was put out by the Center for Disease Control, our buddies over there. Anyway, tongue in cheek. Anyway, but University of Florida did a research study that said that 9,000 of those kids that send that photo are being blackmailed. And University of Toledo, Ohio says that 58% of kids who send that photo and are being blackmailed will actually go out behind their parents' back without ever telling a parent or a teacher. And they will meet up with that person trying to negotiate back that photo so they won't get caught, and they end up being further exploited. So, because of that, we have been fighting this now for a long time. We have a movie that we are being told now will be January. It'll be a long form movie that is not done by me and kids, it's actually done by Giving University. And that'll be out probably this fall. It's in negotiations right now for live streaming. But out of that will become a 45-minute documentary that Me and Kids has worked on for well over a year now. And that is really about where naked photos go when you hit send. And I hope to put that movie in every school in America. We are still working on it. It's taken a lot longer because of COVID to do it, but we've seen the excerpts of the movie. I'm very excited. It is coming on there. But where I'm at today with you on this radio show, and I just want to stop first and let you know how much I appreciate you as the audience that takes your valuable Saturday afternoon relaxation time to listen to this show. I meet you. I don't know, apparently have a weird voice or something, but I go out and people will say, your voice sounds familiar. Are you on the radio? That happened the other night. I'm like, I must be strange. Who knows? But, I meet so many of you and you share my concerns. So for the rest of the show, I want to talk about getting back to basics. And this is really, really important to me, and I hope to share that with you as my radio family, if you will, because I've met so many of you. I meet you out there, your fathers, your husbands, your mothers, your grandmas, grandpas. You are people who have good values and are concerned about what's going on in this world. And I am concerned about what's going on in this world. I've had a lot of conversation about I've been doing a huge amount of soul searching personally, because this is my mission. I don't do it for the bucks, trust me. That'd be out of the question at this point. We are a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, emphasis on non-profit. We are a fairly small organization, but we have trained over 500,000 people, and a lot of them are kids. And we've sat with a whole lot of parents, and we've sat with a whole lot of grandparents, and we've talked to a lot of teenagers about how to keep yourself from becoming a victim of either sex trafficking or even forced prostitution or blackmail. That's sextortion. That's a fancy word for sex and extortion. It's blackmail by sexual blackmail by a photo. And I have spent much of my retirement career, if you will, over the last 13 years dealing with that. And when I talk to you, I hear the same concerns that I'm processing. I don't know about you, but I feel overwhelmed by the number of things that I cannot control right now. So much is going on with Afghanistan. And of course, the hurricane is taking place. And I have a granddaughter that's in that hurricane area. She has 2 houses in Louisiana. Great timing. Anyway, but we have the recall of the governor because what is going on in our state offends our sense of values. And yet I see a movement to defund police and decriminalize crime. Let the criminals out early and then do away with enhanced sentencing and just let those people come back to your community, even though good people risk their lives to testify against them. I hear all about schools promoting curriculums that are hard to comprehend that this would actually be happening. It all seems so upside down. And I heard even this morning that one of our relatives, their school will not allow the parents inside the school. They have to drop the child off. And I'm like, whoa, that would not be my school, even if I had to homeschool. We hear legislation that's exactly worded the opposite of what they're telling you. And we hear news people selecting words, twisting meanings. So wrong seems right and right seems wrong. And now California is on the very verge, and it looks like it's really going to happen, of legalizing prostitution, street prostitution in your neighborhood. Is this just crazy? Well, folks, we're coming up against that break. We are going to be right back. This is Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. So we're talking about maybe getting back to basics. That's kind of where my head is. I've had a week or so to give this some thought. I had a week where we spent quite a bit of time down by the beach with San Manuel, had their golf tournament, and they included us as one of the charities that they sponsored. And I want to give a big shout out to San Manuel. Amazing, amazing people over there. They care deeply about their community. And they sponsored, they put out a lot of money for charities and handpicked the charities. And I'm just proud as punch to be one of them, because most of the other charities were things like Meals on Wheels and organizations that are so much bigger than us. And so I'm very, very proud of San Manuel for thinking of us. And we participated out there in the down in Orange County. We got to high roll a little this week, and I came out of my bunker and did that thing, and it was really good. But as I've given this a lot of thought, I really hope that this becomes a conversation. And you can write to me with your own thoughts, by the way, at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. I always say it's an expensive stone or a lousy car, depending on how you want to spell it. But anyway, Opal at millionkids.org. But it just, as I see all of this, it offends my sense of values. And some of the thoughts that I've had on this, I'm in the higher end of the generation. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, although I've certainly got plenty of energy and I can fight back any day you want me to. But I look at all of this, and this offends my sense of values. I feel extremely responsible for making sure that we set a good example for the next generation, and that we present with them a world as good as we got and maybe better. And it just doesn't feel like it's headed that direction for me anyway. There are several things that have happened that make me question all of this, especially in the situation of combating crime. Many of you that have followed this show know that I've been fighting SB 357, and it looks like it's a done deal and we have lost. And it is very, very disappointing to me. SB 357 is a bill, and there are many bills that we don't like out there. But this bill is written in such a way, first of all, you, the voter, do not get to vote on this. It's kind of like when they declared California to be a sanctuary state. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, isn't that something we, the people, ought to be voting on? I mean, I'm off subject a minute here, but bear with me. When you declare a state that does not have to follow federal guidelines or rules, it's interesting. They want us to have our own rules on COVID against federal guidelines, and then they want us to overlook the border and not enforce any of those federal laws. And I say to myself, any time that you set up something that is so important as to declare a sanctuary state, we, the people, ought to be able to vote on that. Well, that is how I feel about SB 357, but we are not going to get to vote on it. SB 357, I'd encourage you to Google it and get your own opinion. There are several people pushing back on my opinion, and that's okay. I do not expect the entire world to agree with me. They never have, so why would I start now? But, look that up if you want to. What it is that they have completely redefined the terms of loitering for prostitution. And up until now, it's been a misdemeanor to loiter. I can't say that word, but I'm getting better. Anyway, it has been a misdemeanor. And so what has actually happened in the past is law enforcement would conduct what we call reverse stings. These are stings that are just like To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen. And in those, they targeted sex buyers and sex sellers. And the idea of it is that because the laws have changed on sex trafficking in the past, it is very difficult now to help a teenager, a minor, who gets involved with prostitution. Our laws basically say that anytime a minor is engaged in prostitution, even if they're there willingly, they are a victim of sex trafficking. And I believe that to be true. And that there are all kinds of services. But then they changed the law that says, but it's up to the teenager to decide if they want to be rescued and accept those services. And so now we have all these safe houses that many wonderful organizations funded that are basically sitting empty because teenagers are saying, no, I really like this guy, and I know he beats me up, and I know I have to make $1,000 a night, and I know that he hits me with a hot iron or burns me with cigarettes, but, it's my fault, and they will blame themselves and stay in it. And if they don't come forward and ask for help according to our laws, we can't interfere or force them into getting services. And so now what has happened with SB 357, what we have done as law enforcement, and I am not law enforcement, but I am the training and outreach coordinator for the task force, which is Riverside County Sheriff Department and the Department of Justice. And what we do is we go out and conduct the reverse stings. They do, I don't. And in this case, they have a female who is in prostitution. They do everything possible to get her to accept services. We have safe houses. We have out of residential care. You can go in there and live. You can live there for 2 years, quite frankly. Or you can just get the counseling. You can get legal services. We have tattoo removal. If you've been arrested, we'll help you get it off your record. If you're an undocumented person, we will help you with the process. And so there are millions of dollars worth of services here within the Inland Empire to help people get out of prostitution. The way prostitution normally works is it'll start out with either a teenager who then becomes an adult, or you'll get a person. 60% of women in prostitution came from foster care. They had no home. They had no strength of family that could support them. And so what will happen is that these services help them get places to live. They get counseling. They help them get jobs and get back on their feet. Because historically, they'll start out by believing the wrong guy. Now, more and more, because we're getting a lot more public about the LGBTQ community and transvestites, more and more you're starting to see gay prostitution and trans prostitution out there. And now with this bill, I think you're going to see a huge amount of it publicly. But what has happened now with this bill is that in the past, law enforcement would arrest them or give them services. If they did not want to take the services, then they were going ahead and being arrested. Later, if they decided to take the services, then they have legal services to take that arrest off. SB 357 says that many of the people who are being arrested are either people of color or they are gays or transvestites. And that means that law enforcement is arresting more people of color and gays than they are other people. I wouldn't totally disagree with that, although the way the law was written really wasn't fair because it's based on a report, a research study out of Compton. And I guarantee you out of Compton, you're going to have more people of color. But I get that. But there are many ways to help people of color without saying law. The solution is that law enforcement can no longer arrest them. Now, other people who are promoting this bill are saying we are not legalizing prostitution. We are just making it so law enforcement cannot arrest them. And I'm saying, how does that work? How does that work? If making it so law enforcement cannot arrest them, isn't that legalizing prostitution? And my concern for this is that it's going to attract and make commercial sex on the street a major enterprise in California. Now that and by the way, this has cleared the Senate right down party lines. It's in the Assembly for the final vote. Last week, it cleared the Appropriations Committee. And probably, maybe by the time this show airs, this is a pre-recorded show, it's probably going to be into law, and we won't be able to change that unless we get a new law and new people in power at some time in the future. And I'm hoping that will really happen. So basically what this says is that you can go out and do street and car prostitution, and law enforcement will not be able to intervene. So I'm telling you, folks, it's an upside-down world out there, and it's driving me insane. Hey, we're up against that break, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Well, hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. We are talking about SB 357. My name is Opal Singleton. So what I am predicting now that is about to happen is that as pimps and Chinese cartels and Mexican cartels, Russian cartels, people from all over the world realize that you can now walk the streets of California offering out prostitution and you will not be arrested. Regardless of what my opposition says, this is going to set up an entire new industry. We saw it when they legalized pot, and we saw it when we are going to see it here. What is surprising to me is that it isn't done like Nevada, where you have controls, where you put it in a brothel off the street, where you can get STD checks and protect the women. I see no protection for these women, and they are passing this bill in the name of protecting women and people of color. And I'm saying it's going to do just the opposite, because the Chinese massage parlors that are going on, the Asian massage parlors throughout California, they will simply bring the girls out of the massage parlor because they can't be arrested. The advertising that takes place online will say, meet me at 5th and G. You will see pimps bringing people all over from the United States to make a lot of money. That is why sex trafficking works, is it makes the people a lot of money. Do you know here in the Inland Empire, your average girl in this business will earn $1,000 a night, or she will not get to eat or sleep. Of that 1,000, she might get $10 for a hamburger. And the rest goes either to the pimp or the cartels. This is absolutely crazy. So as I've worked my way through the kind of grieving process, as you will, as I sat on the calls last week and saw that this is really going to happen, I've thought a lot about this. And I believe that the single most important action that we can take right now is get back to the basics. Let's forgive me for getting religious on you, but let's put on the full armor of God. Let's prepare our children to live in an upside down world, because they're going to. My mom used to tell me this all the time and I hated it. Nobody ever said the world is fair. If you're going to wait around for fairness, then it's going to be a long wait. You have to decide what is going to happen here. And I think that this is the call for action for leaderships from parents, from grandparents, in ways that we never saw before. Let's take back parenting. And I believe that this is going to require purpose and strategy. It's going to require honest conversation. It's going to require leading by example. But the single most important thing you can do to prepare your children to live in the world that they are about to inherit is decide that you are going to develop a strategy that is going to teach them your values and your sense of fairness and your sense of honesty. This has got to start at home, and it isn't going to happen by accident. I can still remember my mom and dad. I think that as soon as I came out of the womb, the first word I ever heard was college, university. You will go to school. I appreciate the fact that my parents, we were poor. I was raised in the Midwest, and we didn't have a whole lot, and we didn't even have running water till I was 6, so that tells you poor. But it was interesting because I never felt poor. It was one of those things where my mom and dad basically, I was kind of writing out the 4 or 5 things that they taught me that I'd like to share with you. And by the way, I'll just give a shout. I've never done this before, but I gave a shout out to Ralph and Regina Wooten, Wichita, Kansas. That's where I was born. And apparently I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame back there in my high school, but I'm busy that weekend, so we don't get to go. But they were just basic people. My dad was a railroader. My mother was a housewife who had a large garden and sold and made money, and we dug our own well. And it was an interesting time because from the very beginning, some of the things my mom taught me is you only have, this is one of the most important things I think that we need to teach our children. You only have one life, and every day you make a decision of what you want that life to look like. Are you going to be dependent or independent? Because if you're dependent, you're going to pay a big price, because that puts your actions, your decisions in the hands of other people. This is one of the biggest ways our kids get involved and get groomed. They're waiting for someone to take care of them, to be responsible for them, instead of, driving the ship themselves and deciding where they're going to go. And that was one of the first things is every day of your life is a choice, and it's a series of choices. And if you make good choices, it will work. If you make bad choices, you will pay a price. You get to decide if you're going to be helpless or helpful. And it is really interesting when I start to look now at all these people that are creating a society that said these people are helpless, so therefore we have to give them all this stuff. Well, I agree. There are people that need assistance, but that is why we are helpful. And leaders are helpful. They don't sit around going, oh, poor me, I don't have this, I don't have that, and I need somebody to give it to me. Do you know that is the basis and the heart and soul of grooming? They look for people who will be dependent, that they can control, that they can manipulate. And, this is really, really important to understand. I share with kids all the time that self-esteem is a decision you make yourself. And once you make that decision, it is a gift you give yourself. And nobody can take that away from you. Nobody is born with high self-esteem or low self-esteem. All of us go through life and we feel inadequate here or inadequate there. But once you make your decision that you are a valued child of God and you are going to be somebody and be something, that you are going to care about others, not just sit around and mope about who doesn't care about you or what you don't have. Focus on what you have, be grateful for what you have, and know that you are in control of your life. And the minute that you are no longer in control of your life is the point at which you become a victim. And there are circumstances that happen to people. They get cancer, they're in accidents, they get in a divorce. Things happen that are not to our choosing. But how we respond to that is in our choosing. I'll take this a step farther. I went to marital counseling once in my previous marriage because my husband has now passed away, and I'm remarried, thank God. I'm having the time of my life. And I'm so fortunate to have had two wonderful husbands, or have 200 wonderful husbands. But I remember this counselor saying to me that my husband was not responsible for my happiness, and I'm not responsible for his. And as long as you make somebody else responsible for your happiness, then you are not in control of your life, and you will be dependent. And so literally, these things all run together. Every day in your life, you get a choice. You get a choice to be grateful or not. You get a choice to be happy or not. You get a choice to decide that you are going to make good decisions and that you're going to be in charge of your life. And it may not all go your way. It won't. Life is full of challenges, and each one of those gives you an opportunity to make a new decision on how you're going to process it. But I believe that this is one of the most important things that we can do right now in dealing with our society is for parents to get a strategic plan, to have conversations, to sit down and be blunt about it. Take on whatever it is that you want to take on, whether it's Afghanistan or the hurricane or the recall of the governor, or in my case, the fact that a bill is going to go through that's going to change millions of people's lives and make a lot more victims. And I can either whine or moan about it. And I will tell you, I don't approve of it. I don't like it. But that does not mean I'm going to stop caring about those victims. And that does not mean I'm going to stop helping others figure out a plan so they don't get exploited. If there's ever a time we need to talk to our kids and help them understand how to be leaders, it is today. This is Opal Singleton. We're up against that break.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and thank you for sharing with me today. I'm just kind of really having a conversation with you because I'm going through the same process you are. I talk to a lot of people, and there's some fine people out there, and they feel just absolutely overwhelmed. I was sharing with our district attorney the other day that right now I feel like I'm fighting a tsunami with a teaspoon, and but I'm fighting because that is the decision I made and who I am. And so I really want to take this back to home base for moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas. There's a lot of stuff out there I don't believe in. There's a lot of trends I don't like the way it's going. I really hate, and that's a strong word, the fact that California has chosen to decriminalize crime, to let up to 76,000 prisoners out early. Now, I'm not against the prisoners. Some of them have been rehabilitated, and that's great. And I want people to have another choice and another chance. I'm not against that. But 20,000 of them will be sex offenders or may be sex offenders. And what about the people who literally testified against them? And at the same time we're doing that, we're doing away with enhanced sentencing in the state of California. You start to look at the laws, and there's some real tricky wording in there that even I didn't catch, that it'll be based on the base sentencing. That means no more enhanced sentencing. If you got 30 years because you're a gang member carrying a gun and raping a girl and selling a girl for prostitution, you're really only going to have to serve with the base sentence. And I hate that kind of secretive wording in these bills. You elect people believing that you can trust them, and they spend time literally creating bills that are deceptive. And they know they're deceptive, and they're still in some of the highest offices of our land today. And so I look at that, and that offends me. It is important to sit down with our kids and say, I can't do anything about that. I can't change politicians, and I can't change people who choose to be deceptive, especially when they're in positions of power. I personally don't like it that they're trying to tell you that just making it so law enforcement cannot arrest a person that is out there being pimped out and at least get them some services. They're trying to tell me that they're trying to tell me that does not legalize prostitution. Well, what does it do? That is a disservice to our community. So I think it's important that we sit with our kids. The way that you can prepare your child so they're not a victim, talk to them about technology. This generation is the greatest generation of kids I've ever met, because they will be the generation that has some of the most advanced technology of all time. The very nature of technology makes it so you're not going to get them off of it. Let's show them to be leaders. Talk about digital morality. You know, I don't kill cops, even in video games. I don't pay prostitutes, even in video games, even if you're going to kill her, technically, and get your money back. Talk about digital morality. Talk about the fact that you get to be who you decide you're going to be, whether you're playing video games or whether you're stealing or not stealing, whether you decide to tell the truth or hedge on the truth. Whether you decide to cheat on your girlfriend or boyfriend or not, whether you decide to tell just a little white lie, listen to the news and share with kids and have that conversation. Do you think this is honest? Do you think this is right? Let's Google on this subject so you understand how politics works and how government works. Talk about the fact that you admire them for being selfless instead of selfish, that they care instead of being self-centered, that they're not helpless, that they are people who take up the challenge of leadership, that they are going to be helpful, not helpless. Talk about what happens when people get helpless in their relationships, where they depend on other people to make them happy or depend on other people to make them successful. They get to be independent or they get to be dependent. Talk about relationships. You know, are you in an empowering relationship where this person makes you feel good about yourself? Mom and Dad, I cannot tell you how important that is. This is the generation that will make their relationships online. And I talk to kids all the time. Are they doing all the question asking, but you're doing all the answering? That is not an equal relationship because they know more about you than you know about them. Are they making all the demands and you're doing all the giving? That's not a relationship. That's a negotiation, and you're losing. If our kids are going to make relationships online, we need to be able to share with them what is an empowering relationship and an exploitative relationship. And finally, I think one of the most important things you can teach a child in this generation is there is no such thing as damaged goods. I think damaged goods and the fear of that is the greatest fear of all mankind. And people will get you in there and you will make mistakes, whether it's sexually online or in real life. And then they will begin to get you to be further compromised because you're compromised anyway. You know, you are a loved child of God. I love you. We're proud of you. You're going to make mistakes, but when you do, you are going to be a person of character that owns up with them, and you are not going to allow anybody to set your value. You are a person that decides your own value and your own self-esteem. I think that's the most important discussion that we can be having right now. By the time we shut the TV off, we all feel futile. Let's don't cow down in the back room. If there's ever a time for us to rise up right now as parents and grandparents, we still control our own home. Maybe we don't have any influence at the school, but that means that more than ever, your position as a parent and a grandparent to pass along those values, those basic things that will make your child a leader, that will teach them discernment, to listen, to not let anyone make them a victim or suck them in or groom them because they don't have a strong sense of self-worth. All of those are dialogues that I believe are the greatest and most important thing that we can do at this time to be able to make sure that even though the world isn't like we'd like it to be, that we can raise the next generation of leaders to take this on and help get it back on track. There are a lot of good things going on in turning this around, but I also believe that it must start at home, and it must start with the basics. And that means you and I, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, we need a strategy. We need joint conversations in our relationship, and we need to begin to sit down with our children and make sure they get our values presented to them in the place they trust the most, the place they know they belong in their home. My name is Opal Singleton. This organization is Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. We're not 1 million, we're not a million, we're just simply millionkids.org. That .com is some rock band. You don't want them. Anyway, I hope that this has been helpful to you. I hope it's been uplifting to you. And I hope that if it has been helpful and you have it in your heart to support our work, we would really appreciate it. We have more demand for our services right now than I have ever had in the 13 years that I have done this. If you want to donate to us and support our work, you can do that whether you're a corporation or a private citizen, doesn't matter. We appreciate each and every one of you. Go to millionkids.org. You can either text donate, you can use a credit card and donate, or if you're old-fashioned and you want to send in those checks, I personally go to the post office and I personally get thrilled when I see those checks come in the mail. I don't care if it is old-fashioned. I love it, folks. It helps. I also want to thank each and every one of you that follow this show and share this show. These shows are all archived at millionkids.org. If you want others to follow our work at 3 o'clock on Saturday, they can go to am590theanswer.com and listen, even if they're out of state. I have a bunch of people that are doing that now, and I appreciate that. But this show is archived at millionkids.org, so I hope that you will continue to follow us on Saturday afternoons and continue to share this show with everyone you know. I think these are tough times, and like my mom used to say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And this is the time that we cannot accept to sit back and go, this is awful. It may be awful, but we're not done yet. We're just getting started. We know what to do for leadership, and we're going to do it. I need you to do it. I need me to do it. And together, we will turn this ship around. And we once again will stand for what is right. This is Opal Singleton. I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.